Welcome aboard! We will be your guides during this magical journey into the movies. It's the perfect job for us because we love the movies. It's showtime! Ready when you are, CB!
Action!
Welcome to Monoreel Radio, episode number 351. I'm Sean.
And I'm Jackie.
And we are here this week to review and discuss Girl vs. Monster as we continue to lead up to Halloween. And, you know, this is a DCOM. It's one that I've seen the title, you know, the tile on Disney Plus, basically since Disney Plus launched. And it's sort of been something I've been interested in. I've heard a lot of people talk about this. Admittedly, I didn't know anything about the plot, but it seems to be one that was sort of revered. So I was really excited to finally dive into this one because we have found some DCOM Halloween gems in the past.
See, I had never even heard of it. Even when scrolling through Disney Plus, I never really came across it. It wasn't until I sat down to put the list together of what we were going to review for the month. And then I started to realize, you know, we've blown through so many of the Disney Halloween themed movies. Really, all we have left is DCOMs. But DCOMs, especially the Halloween ones, are really revered, to your point. However, I will say, and I don't want to give too much of my review away up front, being that this has turned into a DCOM month that we're doing now.
Yeah.
I will not be participating in What the February.
We have a few months to negotiate that.
Negotiate is exactly the word that I would have used.
Maybe we'll leave it up to our friends out there.
No, that is not a negotiation.
Well, I mean, give the people what they want. If people want What the February, I mean, we may have to oblige.
And I mean, then what are my other options? A month full of Ron Miller films, and that ain't gonna happen either.
So, I mean, listen, it's either What the February or movies we've never heard of, or like just scraping the bottom of the barrel to try and put something together. Like, folks, we've been doing this for a long time. We are 351 episodes in. Even the dog has got the ball out because he's tired of us trying to find these kind of movies. What the February, I'll die on the hill that one's a lot of fun, but it's also admittedly a little one-sided. But is this movie one-sided in regards to a particular franchise, perhaps, that it seems to pull a lot of influence in the loosest sense of the term from? Is this revered? Is this fun for the family? That, on top of many other things, is what we are here to discuss today.
This episode is sponsored by Fierce Fox Co., designers of handmade silkscreen shirts. Fierce Fox has a t-shirt, tank top, hoodie, or crew neck for every fandom. So whether it's the movies or theme parks, princesses or villains, the MCU or Star Wars, everyone will find something they love. The designs range from subtle quotes from our favorite films to iconic characters we can wear proudly in so many different styles, such as sketchbook and concert tees. Listeners of Monoreel Radio can get a 20% discount using the code Monoreel at checkout. Visit fiercefoxco.com to check out all of the collections.
Skylar Lewis is a 15-year-old girl who has a great singing voice. Her friend Ryan plays guitar in the band The Backbeats, and while her friend Sadie tells Skylar that Ryan secretly has a crush on her, Skylar assures her that they are just friends, as Ryan has a girlfriend named Myra, who is Skylar's mean girl rival. After setting up for their school's Halloween bash at Macquarie Mansion, the girls cut through a cemetery to go home. A ghostly entity begins to follow them, unbeknownst to the girls. The monster is trapped by Skylar's parents, who are in fact monster hunters. They have hidden this from Skylar for her entire life as a means of protecting her. Instead, they moonlight as monster hunters while operating a mold removal company out of their basement. The next day, Skylar begs her parents to allow her to go to the Halloween bash, but they refuse to let her go to protect her. Halloween is their busiest night as monster hunters. However, they've seen an alarmingly early spike in activity. As they continue to catch more monsters, their containment unit starts to become fuller and more unstable. At school, Myra suffers a neck injury while trying to straighten a Halloween bash banner, leaving her unable to perform. Ryan invites Skylar to perform instead, so she agrees. Her parents forbid her to leave the house and ask their associate Cobb to babysit, so after they leave, she calls Sadie and tells her to come over, as she plans to cut the power, deactivating the house's alarm system and allowing her to leave. Cobb begs her not to, however, she cuts the power anyway, causing the containment unit to blow, letting out all of the monsters to wreak havoc on the town, namely Diamata and her sidekicks Theodosia and Bob the Scarecrow. Cobb explains to Skylar that her parents are secret monster hunters and that Diamata wishes to possess Skylar's soul, and that she is specifically Skylar's monster. She will take over her fear she will take over Skylar's body if her fear allows it. Diamata is immortal and is drawn to the strongest host, much like Skylar's grandfather, whom she was told had died before she was born. Cobb tells her that he was a monster hunter who spent his life keeping Diamata at bay until she became too much for him to handle. Diamata shifted focus to Skylar, so to protect her, her father joined the ranks of Monster Hunter, and her parents modified her grandfather's old equipment to capture the monsters and contain them, but Skylar refuses to believe this and leaves to go to the party. Cobb believes that she will be safer there, but equips Skylar, Sadie, and their friend Henry with monster hunting weapons. Meanwhile, Diamata traps her parents in a warehouse as they walk through the woods to get to Ryan's party down the block from her own home. We learn that Theodosia and Bob are Sadie and Ryan's monsters. The monsters attack the trio, separating them from one another, and while Sadie and Skylar escape, Henry is literally left frozen in fear, so Cobb retrieves him and returns back to their lab to fix him while the girls press on to the party. Steve and Julie, by the way, are the names of Skylar's parents, are moved by Diamata and are left in Julie's father's old lab. Needing a costume to infiltrate the party, Diamata possesses Myra, who makes a surprise appearance, ruining Skylar's performance with the backbeats. While walking the mansion, Skylar sees a photo of her mother and learns that McQuarrie was her grandfather. While scared, Sadie encourages Skylar to fight off the monsters terrorizing the mansion. Cobb awakens Henry, who helps him repair the containment unit. He then decides to face his fears and return to help his friends. He stands up to Bob, who shrinks and disappears when Henry is no longer afraid of him. Diamata decides to possess Ryan to feed on Skylar's fear and destroy her will. To face his fear and banish Diamata from his body, he asks Skylar on a date, which she accepts. Diamata takes Skylar's parents to the roof of the building of the mansion and threatens to throw them off. However, Skylar and her friends capture Diamata and end the terror. Skylar mends the fences with Myra and continues to sing with the band. Her friends face their fears at school, and the containment unit is fixed as Skylar and her parents move forward, free of secrets and overprotectiveness. Do I have to say it?
I'm wondering how many times it's going to get compared.
Here's the thing. As I stated, I had no idea what the premise of this film was before we sat to watch it. So for those that assume I picked this just to rail on it because of Ghostbusters, I assure you that was not the case at all.
I picked it.
And you and
I'll fall on that
know.
sword. There was part of me that was like, I wonder if there's a night that we could record this so that I could do a drinking game for every time you make a Ghostbusters comparison. But I'm not about to do that in the morning.
I mean,
maybe I could throw some whiskey in my coffee.
All right. Let's... All right, let's just get this thing started.
Let's talk about something that they did right. I do like this open in the graveyard. Set's great.
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh, I'll give it that. The sets throughout this movie are very, very strong.
What's really funny, though, is that we are back in I learned the name of it, the Greystone Mansion in Beverly Hills. I mentioned that last week, that they did the interiors of Under Wraps. It was serving as the Coven Hotel, and I couldn't remember what the name of it was, but it is the Greystone Mansion, probably most recognizable to Disney fans, not only from Under Wraps 2, but Descendants. I think most recognizable to film fans overall from X-Men. But you'd also know it from, and this is just off the top of my head, Spice World had a little bit of a filming in there. And Gilmore Girls, they used the exterior for Chilton. They used the interior for Rory's coming out party. So this is a multifaceted venue here that you've seen. And there's probably a million more things that I'm not even thinking of off the top of my head. But it is DCOM Central in this place.
Yeah, and for good reason. I mean, it is so aesthetically pleasing, and you can do an awful lot with it. It can look like a dormitory, it can look like a mansion, it can look like a hotel. Like, it's amazing how many different things Disney specifically has shot in there. And, like, we pick up on it because we watch so many of these. Admittedly, you picked up on it before I did. But the fact that you can use it for so many different purposes, it's no surprise that they keep coming back here.
No, and it's really smart because especially when you need a big space with this many extras, it's not just the room that you're filming in. You need a place for them to have a break. So there's probably, ample opportunities to have a couple of green rooms where everybody can go relax between takes. But in this case too, the grounds, Disney can really double dip quite a bit because they're doing a lot of exteriors as well.
Right.
But I saw these, the headstones, immediately thought Hocus Pocus. It looked very similar, but like not in a rip-offy kind of way. And I was like, okay, this looks really cool. It drew me in right away.
Sure.
And then it lost me in almost this first scene, with this "To Ghoul for School" sign, and that she's got to be thrown up in the air to adjust it. I like the sign. I love a pun.
Yeah.
It is a little bit confusing though, because we later learn that this is going to be Ryan's party and his dad got this space for them. But this also does seem like a school event because all of the kids are there helping out. It's not just Ryan and a couple of his bandmates and friends setting up for it. So there's just a lot of contradictory things happening here. I realize that we have to set up Skylar's character, right? This is just so over the top and so elaborate to establish that she's fearless. Not only when there are multiple ladders around that she could have just gone back up, and they do call that out, but after she pulls the sign down to level it out, there's a girl on the second floor standing not but 2 feet where you could just lower.
You have my exact note.
This was just so over the top to set her up as like the it girl, the main character, and Ryan's crush on her as well, which is also very conflicting because he seems to know her well enough, like they grew up together, to know that she would sing. But then it's like, how many years of gymnastics did that take? Because we needed some kind of like meet cutie pickup line here. And it just, this feels like a jumbled mess from the jump.
Well, not to mention, they make it such a big deal that she's going to perform with the band. The first thing she does is perform with the band. In the space, in front of the same people she's going to perform in the band in front of.
Thank you.
You don't build to it because it's already happening.
Yeah. That's where I feel like there was a lot of confusion in either the pitch of this movie or the writing, where it was like, is this going to be a musical or is this just going to be a straight movie? And I think it feels to me like the music came later, like they shoehorned it in, because it works later on when Skylar starts to lock up because she's experiencing all of these fears that she's never had before. But I feel like it's working against everything now, because it doesn't make sense as to why Myra's not there rehearsing with them when she's part of the band. Like, I know you have to have that quick beat with her later on to establish that she's the mean girl, but it doesn't make sense that she's not here and Ryan would just throw it to Skylar like, oh, hey, do you want to sing? When Skylar's not technically a part of the band yet. And where it's also working against her, and this is my bigger point, is that between the singing, the gymnastics flip, and then the I'm going to take a shortcut home through this graveyard, we're almost creating a show off here. And we are like tiptoeing down the road of an unlikable main character before we've really got to know her yet. And then from here, she's just going to complain about not being allowed to go out on Halloween. So like they start to lose her very quickly.
Yeah, I think what happens here is initially the pacing's actually pretty good because they're doing a lot of quick character development to get us into the action. However, you're not developing good characters. That's the problem.
There you go.
I'm going to jump the gun to the very end of the movie with this final thought. I don't like any of these characters. There isn't a one that I like or find endearing, and it starts here. Because to your point, she comes off as petty, she comes off as bratty. You know, when they have her do this backflip gymnastics thing, what I thought, and I only knowing what I knew about the film based on the descriptor on Disney+, I thought that she was secretly working with her parents as a monster hunter and they were hiding it from everybody else, and like this whole gymnastics thing was like just
part of her training.
Correct.
Yeah.
It was just something, oh, say this and you hide, you know, because we're going to ignore that there's 3 ladders in this room. One of them was within 2 feet of you, but we don't want to take the ladder out again. Plus the person up there, like I said, you took my exact note. I'm thinking that they've developed a backstory for her. No. Then, Sadie, this, I have a fear of public speaking because I didn't spell goat once. Certainly this will pay off, right? This means something, right? And it really doesn't. Like they just, for as good as the pacing is to start, because the pacing becomes a mess shortly thereafter, they don't develop characters you can root for. And that is independent of the fact that this is a straight ripoff of Ghostbusters.
We will pull that pin in just a second. I do agree with you, and I'm trying not to be all over the place here, but you're right. What they're doing in the setup affects so many things down the line. And like the first time I was watching it, none of it all made sense. It wasn't until the second time through where I was like, okay, they planted this seed because this is where it's going to be later on. But like the whole theme of this movie is facing your fears and standing up for yourself, right? But I feel like the fears that they are employing here, it almost makes me think that they were handcuffed by this location that they're using.
It could be.
And it's like, we paid for it, so we got to have everything in here, because they're not big fears. And again, yes, we do have to pare some of this down because it's a DCOM. Like you're not going to have a character that's got a fear of bungee jumping, like what is it, Harry, the other friend?
Henry,
thank you. I'm sorry.
He's got the fear of the scarecrow.
Right. And it's always been there, and he's bullied. And the bullying works. I wish that we had unpacked that a lot more, because that is something where he's the one that I will disagree with you on, because I think Henry is somebody that we can root for. And we do see him actively stand up to the scarecrow to help his friends. But that's what I'm saying. You can't go that big with it. You can't give him a fear of bungee jumping and be like, I got to go find a ripcord to go make this scarecrow disappear. That would have
Right.
taken us out of it too much. But like, you also pick things like Skylar singing and then flipping that so it's stage fright, where it's just very easy handcuffs that don't read as like, I'm standing up, when meanwhile there's the term I'm going to use loosely, a monster in front of you, but you're not really standing up to them.
Right, and you instill this idea of stage fright later after she's already performed in front of people. So it just there's a lot that I think they tried to fix, or they tried to like pay off on later, that in many ways sort of muddied what they did in the beginning, I think.
No, I agree with you. But with regard to the stage fright, they do explain that later on badly, that Skylar's parents, by eliminating Timu Winifred Sanderson, I can't even remember her name, by keeping her at bay, they also kept Skylar's fear at bay. So she's getting 15 years of fear all at once. And that's why she's getting like this she's getting like crippled with anything that she has to do. But I feel like she should have been frozen in fear on everything,
Yes.
instead of very specifically stage fright, because then it's like, well, we don't see her gymnast abilities negated.
Right.
It just doesn't really all add up. All right, you ready to pull this pin now? Because now we're back at home. We meet mom and dad. I actually like that they are covering their occupation with this mold and fungus convention.
Yeah.
That's very DCOM in all
Yeah.
of the right ways.
Right. And the fact that they would have a home lab that they don't want her in because you can cross-contaminate, get sick, that setup is really good.
I'll buy it. Even the joke with Cobb telling a teenager, oh, this exposure is going to give you acne. Like, clever joke. That one's well done. This machine, I really like the steampunky vibes, but there is another comp here. It looks very much like Casper and the dad's invention to bring ghosts back to life. And that's all I'm going to say. I will let you pull your pin out now.
I mean, look, here's the thing. It's very obvious that they're monster hunters, so they're not Ghostbusters. Like, that's the way of not getting sued. That's but as far as that goes, that's where this ends. In a DCOM, I mean, do you not want them killing monsters? Because we've had DCOMs in the past where we've killed villains, where we've killed evil entities, so why change now? The fact that you have them blast them with particle lasers,
Mm-hmm.
which is effectively a proton stream, that you trap them in a device, which at first they call a PCU, a portable containment unit, which was just their way of not calling it a trap. But the problem is, later on, Cobb calls it a trap. And then you don't even hide it. You call it the containment unit.
Yeah.
The fact that you're catching them and containing them, and it's getting awfully full, and we're getting these weird readings, and something big is coming. This literally is the coming of Gozer. The problem is, and I don't think that any of this has to do with me being a Ghostbusters superfan. I think this has to do with, if you've seen Ghostbusters, because for its time, and really if you think about what it is in Hollywood, it's so unique because nothing else has done it. Back to the Future, you've seen time travel movies before. So the idea of time travel is not new. Doing it in the DeLorean and trying to save your own existence, that was unique. But you've had things like Hot Tub Time Machine. You've had so many other time travel movies that have come out. But Ghostbusters is extraordinarily unique. So when you have a concept where you're trapping using particle streams and putting them in a containment unit, that in and of itself is going to raise a lot of eyebrows. But the fact that you are literally pulling from the source material, by the way, they did it better than the Ghostbusters reboot, by the way, which says a lot. The fact that they're pulling...
the Kate McKinnon, Chris Hemsworth reboot.
That of which we don't speak otherwise.
2016 Sony.
Yeah, the fact that you are literally pulling the exact setup, this is the problem. Okay, now we pulled the pin. Folks, I'm giving it all to you right now. I've already gone over the containment unit. It collapses because we shut it down. Because somebody goes and shuts off the power grid. It explodes. The front door blows off. And all of the streams go amongst the town and start terrorizing people in the streets, with the climax and the crescendo being that they attack a historical building where your friends are having a party and start possessing them, and you end it with a battle on the roof of the building.
Mm-hmm.
It's the exact same movie.
If you'll allow me a less biased opinion, besides all of the obvious comparisons to Ghostbusters, my bigger bump on this whole thing is that it reads ghost and not monster. Like, take all of the rip-off elements aside. Look at what we're comparing it to. Casper, a ghost movie. Ghostbusters, a ghost movie. My immediate thought, because I knew that you were going to handle all of the similarities, my immediate thought was, these are like sentient beings here. We're talking about monster hunters, and we're not fighting anything physical. And yes, maybe that does lend a little bit to facing your fears. I think that's where it works, because it goes back to the theme of the only thing to fear is fear itself. And you're manifesting this into the thing that you fear. And that's what you have to stand up to. And that's what you have to conquer. But that also works against the rest of the movie in that there's nothing physical to fight here. And nothing reads monster to me. They more read, obviously, ghosts, but they read witches and demons. Something needed to take a physical form. And they try to address that by talking about how everybody has a monster like assigned to them, and it only gets as strong as how much you feed it. So I think that's also where this goes into Ghostbusters territory, because they're trying to do something. They're trying to make it realistic by pulling in the sci-fi nature of it all. But I would have been perfectly fine if, instead of springing from the containment unit, it was all of these monsters are like manifesting themselves under your bed or inside your closet, depending how much you're like, almost like how they played off of it in Monsters, Inc.
But then it's the exact same. But what do they care? They've already ripped off one other movie that's timeless.
Yeah, but they're not exactly. But they're not coming through a portal. If the idea is like a sci-fi element of how much you're feeding it and feeding your fear, that's where maybe this works. Where instead of because this is what I was hoping for. I really didn't want to critique the opening singing scene too much, because I didn't really have a better solution for it. And that's something that like we've always sort of prided ourselves on, of like not just bashing a movie for the sake of bashing it, but to offer like, oh, maybe this is what we would have done differently. Not saying better. I'm not saying our ideas are better, but I'm just saying we can usually offer an alternative. And that's what I was having trouble with. If they had held Skylar singing in that beginning scene, maybe now you've taken Myra out of the equation. Ridiculously, by the way. Oh, gee, she tried to mimic what Skylar did over a flight of stairs.
Yeah, I know.
Obviously, that was going to happen.
Yep.
But
who'd have guessed?
I understand the Sharpay-esque character getting her comeuppance, sure. But if that was how we opened the door to Ryan being in a jam And now he asks Skylar to help him out. Like, oh, I remember you sang when we were kids. Why don't you help me? Now she has stage fright. Now her fears get the best of her. And now Skylar's monster can start to feed because she's never been afraid of before.
Should have let the monster
but
in.
She's going to feed now. And now, Skylar, who was fearless and never afraid of anything, is afraid. Well, now I'm afraid of having to give this speech. I'm afraid of my bully. The person that I looked up to and inspired me not to be afraid and stand up for myself. She's got cracks. What am I going to do? And now their monsters are feeding, and now you open that door even more.
And you could have easily gotten away from the Ghostbusters thing if all the parents would have done, instead of having containment unit, was develop a portal to send them back to their monster world.
There you go.
And, I don't think anybody would have drawn a comparison to Halloween Town, because Halloween Town is its own thing. There are monsters and creatures that live there, but it's meant to be the fun of Halloween. It's not meant to terrorize you. So to send them back to the worlds with once they came, to send them to another dimension, to send them... You could have done that, and you know what? Other than trapping them, nobody would have called this Ghostbusters.
Absolutely.
And if the portal would have been destroyed, if the door would have been left open, no one would have compared it to Ghostbusters. It would have been its own thing. I'm not saying it would have been better, but it certainly would have stood out on its own.
Right. And even, the comparison to Halloween Town, had they done something like that, Halloween Town, if memory serves, does have its own set of rules where they can only come through on Halloween.
Yes.
So we still could have done this Halloween-centric movie and stayed away from that idea of, the portal's stronger on Halloween. That's the other thing that I felt like they could have sold more with the parents was, and again, this may sound rip-offy, but I kind of thought Halloween Town too as I was watching. Marnie's mom sold it more because she was so anti the entire holiday. That's what they should have done with the parents, because they're just making it, they're taking it all out on Skylar, which to your point makes her sound very petty when she's 15 years old and can't go to the party up the street. It's not like she's even got to go that far. They should have been worried about all the kids in town because they're trapping monsters all over town. I
mean, we see them do it while that demon dog goes to attack trick-or-treaters.
Exactly. But all they care about is their own daughter. There's never a moment of like, we have to protect everyone and or trying to shut down Ryan's party altogether. In fact, then they flip it and they totally support her going there away from the house where the monster knows to find her. But we see their house decorated for the holiday. It should have been no Halloween at all whatsoever, and that's what we're against.
I think then it is too much like Gwen, though, where you're just too young to understand, because it's hard, I think, to pull that off a second time. Well, again, what do they care about ripping off their own movie? Anyway, I see what you mean, but I feel like it would have blown their cover more if they just hated everything about Halloween. I think if they're trying to come up with a cover story, going all in is the way to go, but locking her in the house at the age of 15, and they conveniently go, well, she starts training at 16, so that's when we have to tell her, but we got one more year to hide it from her.
1 year, months. She's like months away from a birthday.
Right.
It just, I will give you that though. Locking her in the house though, that was kind of clever because the whole time I'm like, why is she pouting so much when she can just sneak out later on? And that's kind of what I assumed that she was going to do. But it wasn't until they locked her in, I was like, all right, I'll buy that.
Well, you're not going to try and sneak out, are you?
Obviously.
It was one of the most amateur lines. Amateur written, amateur directed, amateur delivered. You're not going to do the exact thing that's going to happen, right? Wink, wink. And she's 15 years old going on 16 and does not know her own security code to her house.
Well, that's the odd thing. I was also willing to overlook completely the idea of a security system that works on the inside and not the outside, because what's the point of having a security system? You're supposed to keep people out. But I was willing to look the other way on that just for the sake of, okay, how is she going to sneak out now? But that also lends to cutting the power.
Right.
She's smart. I'll give her that. For as much as this rips off Ghostbusters, I don't know that at 15 I would have thought, oh yeah, let me go cut the power on the house.
Yeah, but she plans to knowingly sneak out to a place where her parents know she's going to be. See, even the dog has recognized it. So, like...
But she thinks they're going out of town.
Yeah, but she knows Cobb's going to call them.
Yeah.
And they know exactly where she's going, which is to a party down the block that conveniently you need to cut through the woods to get through, by the way.
Speaking of the woods, they poke fun at Twilight. This was actually a bit of funny dialogue once. I keep wanting to call her Dementia, but that's not. I might just roll with it. Thank you, Diamata. I should just roll with Dementia, though, because she is demented. Like I said, it's Winifred Sanderson when you order her on Wish. She's catching up with Bob the Scarecrow and Theodosia. And she's like, all right, where are we at? What are the kids into these days? Or what are they scared of? And there was a throwaway line about they like vampires, but they're sparkly and they fall in love now, which obviously Twilight was huge at this point. So they poke fun at it. But then you have the kids spend like 15 minutes of screen time running through what looks like the same wood, like that Pacific Northwest vibe. Yep. Although I think this was shot in British Columbia, so it's gonna look similar. But that's not being self-referential when you do something like that.
Correct. That drags on, as does. I just want to take one quick step back, just for a moment. When we start to learn what the history of the family is and that her parents are fourth generation monster hunters, her grandfather, was a monster hunter. Mm-hmm. Cobb is telling us all of this and we're seeing it in flashback. It's way too much see and say. It's like they got to a point. Do you know what this feels like? This feels like... And I think a lot, I'm not going to say all, but I think a lot of people have done this. More specifically, our generation, because families nowadays, a lot of them don't have camcorders, which you should have, by the way. Get a camcorder. Not everything should just be shot on your phone. Remember when you would learn how to use the camcorder for the first time and you and your friends would make your own movie?
Oh, yeah.
But you made it up as you went along? Like, you kind of had an idea, but you couldn't edit, so you shot it in sequence.
Yeah.
And sometimes you realized that you needed to over-explain something for it to make sense, something that you've already done.
Yep.
But you can't go back and edit it. So you make it this really wordy explanation so that the movie makes sense.
So that you can kind of shoehorn something that's going to happen.
Yeah. Like, it's fun when you're 10. But that's what this entire thing feels like.
Speaking of see and say, Diamata naturally captures the parents. Which, okay, that's going to work because later Skylar is going to get very scared now that her parents are in peril. But when they come to, they're in what I believe is the attic
of the mansion.
Where Ryan's dad scored the mansion to have the party, which doesn't add up at all because wouldn't they still own the home? And the reason my train of thought went there is because when they come to, the dad's like, where are we? And she's like, my dad's old lab. It hasn't changed a bit. Lady, unless you have siblings who we don't know about that would have been responsible for emptying this space, you have no next of kin. If you haven't done it yourself, of course it's going to look exactly the same. But then why doesn't your family live there? Why are we having a Halloween party there? Why does it still exist?
Do you know what my favorite part about that is? The parents are tied up in chairs back to back, but the chairs are not tied together.
Yes, they could have just stood up.
They could have stood up the entire time. But that didn't make sense. Just like halfway through the movie, they say to each other, the kids go, I can't believe Ryan's dad scored the mansion for the party tonight. You were in the mansion yesterday setting up the party.
Right.
That should have been a line you said in the first 5 minutes of screen time.
Or just keep it to the garage rehearsal space at that point.
Right.
But we had to have her do the gymnast flip. That's all it was for. This could have been so much more effective in the setup. Speaking of effective, so now the monsters, because they have not taken physical form, they've taken to possessing people. Again, ghosts and demons, not monsters. Why not possess Skylar? Like, I know Diamata is trying to gain strength in order to take her down because her grandfather's blood is running through her, and that's what's keeping her at bay. But between Bob and Theodosia and Diamata, they're terrorizing the party because that's supposed to scare Skylar, but they waste so much time. They could have had Skylar the entire time. This just makes absolute zero sense. And then, we're singing in a graveyard.
Yeah. You know what also doesn't make sense? If Theodosia and Bob the Scarecrow were captured, and we know that they were, because they break out of the containment unit, how were they still actively haunting Sadie and Henry if they're in a containment unit?
Okay, I had thought that too, but when Diamata comes back, she calls to them. I'm not sure they were in the containment unit with her.
Well, gee, don't you think maybe in all of the nonsense they spewed to try and make things make sense, they could have mentioned that? Because all I see is she calls them and they just show up out of the stream of other entities that have escaped the containment unit.
I thought the implication was that they never got captured. They were out the entire time. And like they were working with her, but you know, they were able to stay out because the kids were feeding them. But again, for the amount of exposition that we have at times, like wordy exposition, that's never confirmed or denied. It's just confusing.
Yeah.
One of the things that I thought they did well is but before we're singing in the graveyard, when we get Skylar on stage, because she's late to the party, Ryan decides to start without her. They have her walk to the stage, and then they have all of this audio of her, you know, basically the fear playing out in her mind. And you get like that POV, and it's all of these whispers. And I wish they had done more of that when the kids got afraid throughout. And then you have possessed Myra take over with this. Where did this voice come from?
That's my next note.
Is that supposed to be Diamata singing?
I don't know, because it sounds like a gentleman perhaps has taken over.
It sounds like Heart to me, actually. Like that sort of ambidextrous voice when it goes so high, you're not sure. But yes, I do agree with you. But I
no one's confused or questions it.
No. I mean, it's
she went from a 15-year-old girl to a 40-year-old man really quick, and nobody questioned it.
Specifically an 80s hair metal man. Oh, yeah. And then that's the thing. Like, I feel like we're being so confusing because we keep jumping around, but like that's
folks,
the thing.
watch the movie and you'll see what we're talking about.
The whole movie is confusing. But then, okay, so they terrorize the party, they get them out to the ground, and that's the whole point, right? That's also why they're not going after Skylar specifically. They terrorize everyone in order to force them outside. Now, Skylar and Sadie have figured out what's going on, and they're at least starting to take down the monsters and trap them. But now they have to make everyone face their fear. So this is why you give her the moment of singing in the graveyard. This works for Ryan, though. I thought this was kind of cute, where they're preaching to everybody, you have to stand up to what scares you. So he asks her out. So, as far as like the teen romance of it all, I thought that much was cute.
Yeah, it's innocent enough, and I think that it's something that's relatable for the target demographic of this film. What it does, unfortunately, is it completely makes the weapons that her parents and her grandparents had developed completely obsolete.
No.
If all you need to do is go, I'm not afraid of you anymore, like the South Bend Shovel Slayer.
That's exactly what
I'm not afraid anymore. And then all of a sudden they just shrink and disappear. Well, you don't need to trap them and you don't need weapons. So completely negates the entire purpose of this film.
No, and it's such a waste too, because I love all of the steampunk stuff and I wish that they had leaned into that more throughout the movie. Like the containment unit reads steampunk, the lasers and the, I'll call it a PCU. I'm afraid to call it a trap in your presence. That all reads steampunk, but I wish that the outfits and some of the set leaned into that a little bit more and made it feel cohesive, or at least the 3 quote unquote monsters, like maybe have them look like, I don't know, just incorporate the steampunk a little bit more, like almost, what would have been really cool now that I'm thinking about it, instead of a scarecrow. Because it's a scarecrow. It's not a monster. It's just a possessed thing. If they had done like the death masks, like the Raven death masks, that's very steampunky. You could lean into that. And that's what your monsters look like.
Unless they didn't want to scare kids. This is supposed to be whimsical. It's also supposed to be passable, but it's none of the above.
Speaking of above, the parents start to escape. Now we're on the roof.
Shut up, Steve.
Because that's it. Yeah. Diamata, after the song, Skylar starts to calm down a little bit and realize that she can face her fears. And then Diamata reminds her of like, oh, by the way, what happened to your parents? So she runs up to the roof. Diamata's got the parents dangling. There are enough kids at this party to catch them. They're all just standing, mouths agape, like, why don't you go and start, laying something that they can fall onto? And now, this is where Skylar's gymnast abilities come back into play. When the roof gives out and we've got to swing from the rafters to save our parents, who, Dad's got no upper body strength to try and pull themselves back up. He's just got to wait. And then they have their parenting revelations as they're dangling there. Not even in the sense of like, we're about to meet the maker, we have to make things right. It's just, Skylar's a really good kid. We should trust her more because she's helping us in this peril. Except she's really not. Now it's Sadie and Henry doing all of the heavy lifting.
Correct. But don't worry. Her parents were there to remind her, she feeds on your fear. Over and over and over again.
And that's not even what's got Skylar tied up right now. It's shoddy shooting, basically. Because Skylar's not afraid to do it. She's talking to Diamata. They're just waiting on Henry with the literal big guns to take her down. And Skylar's just sort of misfiring some shots. And then Diamata gets stronger. But she's not scared. She's up there fighting her.
Well, the other thing is they also shouldn't have been afraid of suffering anything in a fall because, well, Myra went down the stairs a second and then a third time. And then was walking around going, oh,
somebody call me a cab.
Oh, where's my neck brace? You don't need it. You don't need it. You went from a neck brace with your jaw wired shut to not... Believe me, I wish your jaw was wired shut at this point. Walking around like nothing has happened. Folks, it's funny in Home Alone. It's not funny when the same character, her shtick is, I'm gonna go down the stairs now. Thump. Down she goes.
No, and I'll buy the notion of when she's possessed, she has no pain and her body's being controlled.
Fine.
But yeah, that doesn't negate the fact that now you've had a second fall. And also, I realize it's a DCOM, so like we're going to do the sight gag with the net breaks, but like you should have bruising, you should have swelling, you should have a full body cast by now. You should look like Harold from last week after all of those flights of stairs. Also, you know, we're dangling from the sky. We're feeding off fears, right? Here's where somebody should be afraid of heights.
Yeah.
And that's why Diamata gets bigger and sprouts a second and third head.
But do those heads make her look fat?
Oh my God.
What was the purpose of that line?
Especially because she answers herself yes. Just so bad. Just so bad.
And if you've never seen this movie before and you think that we're spending a lot of time talking about the end, this is a fraction. The end of this movie, this scene in particular, goes on and on and on and on.
Forever, and then comes to a screeching halt. They get the parents back on the roof. Instead of, you know, having like a warm and fuzzy moment, it's, so since you trust me now, can I get my curfew raised? Which immediately we've had no arc for this character. You go back to Bratty, and then you see everyone else start to face their fears, where Henry stands up to the bullies, which
Dorkenstein.
Oh my God, so bad.
Don't call me Dorkenstein.
Dorkenstein. But like, at that point, they shouldn't continue to pick on him. If the whole school was there, except the bullies were not, by the way, Henry should just have everyone's respect, so he's not going to get picked on anymore, because they know he stood up for his fears and did a great thing. And then Sadie delivers her speech in front of a bunch of college students. You had that many extras in this stupid movie, and you couldn't even make them age appropriate.
No.
Because at the high school party they were, but she literally looks like she's in a college classroom. And then I will give it that, though. You Had Me at Hello is a freaking bop, and I hate that it's buried in this movie.
Yeah.
Because that's a great song.
That one is pretty good. I mean, we're not really going to do a musical section because there's really 2 or 3 songs in this, and they sort of just reprise them over and over again.
Exactly.
That one was really good. You know, her first song, Fearless, she comes back and does that. That was good.
No, and the for the Graveyard musical number, like, cool music video.
Yeah.
And it's actually a cool moment in the movie. It's probably one of the better scenes.
I think
but
I Got My Scream On, I think is that song. Yeah.
I thought that was Fearless.
Oh, no, you're right. It's Fearless. It's when it comes back again. This is what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
It's not a music. They just keep coming in and out of these songs.
There's like 3 of them.
And they just reuse them over and over again.
Yeah.
It's why I can't stand How Far I'll Go. Because you just keep coming back to it over and over again, Moana.
Yeah, you want to do it. It's called a reprise at the end of it, at the end of a film, but like not to have it peppered throughout. But yeah, the Graveyard, cool scene as a standalone. It just feels shoehorned in, especially because of the big setup with getting them outside. It's very forced.
The other thing is, this movie, we'll talk about the cast in a minute because I don't have a damn thing to say about the plot. If you want to call it that. This movie, you know, the problem is that, I was going to save this for my final review, but you figured out what that is at this point. This movie doesn't know what it wants to be. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Is it a musical?
Is it a sci-fi?
Is it a Halloween movie? What? It seems like they're like, okay, we're the Disney Channel, so we're going to give you a great Halloween movie. We're going to do something that's going to be in the same category as Under Wraps, 1997 at least, because the other one hadn't come out yet. Phantom of the Multiplex, Don't Look Under the Bed, Halloween Town. We're going to go do the next great movie. But musicals are in with the kids right now. And kids like Miley Cyrus. So if we had cast Miley Cyrus in this movie, we would have had to make it a musical. So let's just get some Miley Cyrus-esque songs and some Miley Cyrus-esque Hannah Montana dance numbers. Well, we only have like 3. I don't care. Use them. Put them in there because that's what the kids like.
Yep.
That's what it felt like. It felt like you had an idea of something you wanted, but because something else makes more money, you found a way to make that other thing exist. Because I'm not going to say that it works, because it doesn't work. It just feels forced.
Yeah. Like, if Gabriella could hunt monsters and Troy was in a band and Sharpay was jealous, what would that look like?
Correct. Let's talk about him. Olivia Holt as Skylar Lewis. You know, they auto-tune the hell out of her, and I don't think that it was necessary because I think she can carry a tune. This character's just... None of these characters... I don't like any of them. She's a brat who, in the face of fear, locks her friend in the hallway with a monster and then calls to her for help.
I know. Yep. Yeah. I realized that too as we were going through it. She slammed the door on Sadie and I was like, the monster's still out there. You're hiding and Sadie is still left out there with the monster. Yeah, the character is pretty terrible and there's barely anything to grasp onto to root for your lead, but that is not a reflection of Olivia Holt. She's a cutie pie. I agree with you. I wish they hadn't auto-tuned her so much. But she's a good performer because she looks like she's having fun in these scenes. There's not a lot of choreography. So a lot of it is her like freestyling. She has a good stage presence. And, you know, you mentioned Miley Cyrus. I will give her that. She nails the Disneys. You know what the Disney is?
Yeah.
That pose?
Yes.
Where it's like turned in. Often there's a hand up and as they're singing into the mic, she nails the Disneys.
She does. Brendan Meyer plays Henry, who this description lists him as her best friend, which I would never have guessed because I thought that was Sadie. But again, a lot of this doesn't make sense and a lot of this is confusing. I like Henry more because, first off, Henry's the only one other than her parents, who are secondary characters, by the way, in a big way. He's the only one that has like an actual character arc.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say.
And I'm fine if he's getting bullied, but the fact that he's afraid of this very like whimsical, silly scarecrow, they're in high school. If he was 12, if they were 10 years old, if this was Gilbert, I'd buy it.
Yeah.
But not a 15-year-old boy with the Zac Efron haircut. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
I would buy it more had the scarecrow maybe delivered more bully lines. Like if we had gotten to know these characters a little bit more in the setup, like you know that Sadie chokes when she has to public speak. If we had a little bit more with Henry, other than that he's being bullied, if we knew what his insecurity was maybe, and then the scarecrow played off of that, like maybe he did have a silly fear and that's what he was getting bullied about. Or maybe it's something like, you know, because that's a realistic thing, unfortunately, that happens. If something happens to you, like in elementary school, like say you like get sick in class or something, or you wet your pants or something embarrassing happens in gym or whatever. Unfortunately, that's what makes middle school so awful, because that's going to haunt you for the rest of the time that you spend with these mean kids. So if something like that was plaguing him already and the bullies kept bringing it up and then the scarecrow keeps bringing it up, I would have bought it more. But I will overlook all of that because he really is the only one that has an arc. He gets frozen in fear. Cobb saves him. And then he's the one, which this also should have been channeled through Skylar Moore, who says, my friends are in trouble. No matter how I feel about it, I have to go help them. They need more traps. I'm going to go, PCUs. I need to go bring it to them. And then when he does show up, there's no moment of Henry, you're okay, you're alive.
Yeah. I'm on. Goodbye. Karis Dorsey plays Sadie.
Are we sure it's not Carrie?
Maybe. I don't know.
It may be.
It could be like a
French, because
Kelly.
No, Carrie, like, no, the French, the IS makes that, like, Y sound, like the director, Denis Villeneuve.
Sure.
It's spelled like Dennis, but it's Denis. Maybe Carrie, I don't know.
Could they have directed a better movie? Well, you know what? I take it back. She is a likable character. Do you know why?
Because she can spell goat?
Because, eventually she can spell goat. That was what haunted her. She couldn't spell goat.
Why couldn't we
I will
pick
tell you,
a word that, like, relates to Halloween or relates to something scary, like a phobia or something?
I don't know. But you know what? Maybe because I have to find something redeeming here. She's at least a fiercely loyal friend.
I like that.
That's the nice way of saying she's badly taken advantage of, but she's a fiercely loyal friend.
No, and I mean, she is the one who spells it out for Skylar of, you need to stand up for your...
Don't ask her to spell goat, though.
Yeah. You need, and that's also very contradictory because she's telling Skylar that she needs to face her fears, but she takes forever to do it. And I realize that we're aiming, to play it for comedy for kids, but, like, pick a harder word, man.
Yeah.
Thankfully, though, she has been in a lot since her career recovered.
Well, that's good to hear. Luke Benward plays Ryan Dean. Had this movie been made 10 years earlier, it would have been Joey Lawrence.
Whoa. Had I seen this growing up, I totally would have had a crush on this character. He's got the haircut. He's in a band. And he really sells that puppy love crush well.
Yeah.
He's probably the most talented, just with what little lines and poor dialogue he had, he was able to deliver.
Yeah. Catherine McNamara plays Myra. It's cringe. I mean, look, it's the character it's supposed to be, but, like, I don't even buy her as a mean girl because the scenes that she has with Skylar are just bad. I am gonna make your life, you can't say living hell, it's the Disney Channel, miserable. Well, that would only work if I care. What is happening here? It's so bad.
It's so funny because when you said you can't say living hell, because that is the length that she paused.
Yep.
It's it fits exactly. Well, I think Skylar's retort was also supposed to be the you're not afraid of anything setup that turns her unlikable and bratty. But back to Myra. I mean, I'll give her this. The possession scene.
Yeah.
That's her best.
Yes.
Because that's all the actress, where she's got to do the physical. Like, I love her hair. I love the fit. And I love the performance, except for changing her voice, which is not her fault. Or maybe that's how she really sings. We don't know, because the rest of the time, well, no, when she does the harmony on You Have Me at Hello Again, she is really high.
Yeah.
But that's actually a really good scene, and she does a really great job. But again, you did a lot with very little that you had to work with, because they're trying to establish you as not even a villain, just an antagonist. But you're right, they don't do enough to make her mean. She's a joke. She's a laughingstock.
Yeah. Tracy Dawson plays Diamata. She just evil laughs.
And they never cut out of it.
Nope. She just evil laughs.
They use every take that they have.
Yep. Like when Chris Cooper goes maniacal laugh in the Muppets, it's done so ironically. Here, it's almost like it's supposed to be ironic, but almost like a parody, but we're supposed to like actually take it seriously.
It's so bad. It's so bad. And just everything about it, the way that the character is written, the horrible, cheesy dialogue. I think they were trying to make an over-the-top performance play for comedy with the bad dialogue, but it just doesn't work. It all falls apart. And like I said, she is second-rate Winnie.
Oh, I just want to be done, but we have so much more cast. Anna Galvin plays Theodosia, who just insults Sadie while talking through her nose.
Out of all of them, I like her costume the best. She reads the most scary to me.
You at least know that she's a witch.
Yeah. Does it matter that you dropped your phone?
No. Stefano Guglielminetti plays Bob the Scarecrow. I actually did like the mask here. I like that it moved just enough.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's supposed to be a real scarecrow. Like, he's not supposed to have skin. But just the arm with your fears. Like, it's just it's bad.
I do like that he's on stilts, and I like that Henry reduces him to nothing instead of having to trap him. I like that he crumples up and then he's done. I wish we had seen more of that with the others.
It's just further proof that scarecrows, in fact, have no brain. Jennifer Aspin and Brian Palermo play Julie and Steve, Skylar's parents.
Worst clueless parents of all time.
Yeah, and the shame of it is, I think there was something there. There was something there where you really could have made them really cool, and I liked them together. See, it's like, I don't not buy them together. It's just that they're scientists that are written to be too stupid for their own good.
Well, not only that, but then they bicker like siblings. I hate them together. They're trying to play that for comedy too, but like, did you notice that like when they're getting into the car and you're supposed to be doing this, you're supposed to be doing that. Like, that's not, you're not supposed to go tit for tat with your partner like that.
Right.
This is the perfect demonstration of an unhealthy marriage.
Yeah. And then Adam Chambers plays Cobb, the apprentice next in line, training to be a monster hunter. At first, I thought, well, this doesn't make any sense because he's not in the family. But then again, neither was her father. So I guess if they want to pass this down to somebody, it makes sense. But other than being married into the family, there's clearly no history that they're bringing any associates in and, like, expanding their staff.
I mean, I do buy the notion, though, if you're not going to be out in the field actually trapping monsters, you have to be at the lab or tracking that. Like, I buy the man in the chair character, you know, and how he would have a role in all of this. But, and I mean, you did kind of need a home base.
Right.
Even if you had taken the containment unit out of it, if they're going to tie up the parents and trap them, like, you did need a mentor and somebody to help Skylar and tell her what to do. Otherwise, how would she know?
Final thoughts? I'll go. Because I know I always say I can be quick.
And you never are.
Sometimes I am. Sometimes quicker than you. Watch it to say you did. It's got no rewatchability. It doesn't know what it wants to be. It's contrived. And when you're done and you want to cleanse your soul, just go watch Ghostbusters because they did it first and they did it better.
Yeah, final thoughts. This feels like either 2 episodes of Are You Afraid of the Dark or Goosebumps that they were like, oh, maybe there's enough overlap where we can put them together, make it a feature length, and we're under time. Throw some music in there.
We want to know what you have to say about Girl vs. Monster. You can let us know on all forms of social media at Monoreel Radio, or you can send us an email, monoreelradio@gmail.com. News of the week is coming up. Thank God we don't have to talk about the movie anymore. But first, a quick break. Now that we live in Florida and spend a lot more time in Disney World, you know that we love to share our park experiences with you, especially in our dockside chats. However, telling you about our personal experience during a park day while sipping on a margarita is not the same thing as getting travel advice from a professional, which is why you should reach out to Jackie when planning your next vacation. Her assistance is complimentary, and I promise she can tell you a lot more than where to find the best margaritas. Visit kmvtravel.com/Jackie to join us in sunny Florida. Cheers! Disney Celebrates America 250 is coming next summer, which is very, very exciting.
Not next summer, actually. They're going to start Veterans Day of this year, and it's going to be like a 7 or 8 month long celebration into next summer, culminating with where you're going.
You got 3 minutes. Yeah, it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think the merchandise that they're starting to roll out, or they're teasing at least, the artwork is beautiful. Soarin' Over America, right? Coming to both Disneyland and Walt Disney World summer of 2026. I'm excited for it. And what I'm most excited about, other than the fact that we're doing something for the 250th birthday of the United States of America, it's also that I feel like they're starting to test the waters to show us what they can really do with Soarin'.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that there's an opportunity for them to sort of play with that attraction a little bit more, and to bring I think to bring a new film and to bring special events to light, and to sort of expand where we go with Soarin', that I think is very, very exciting.
I think this is perfect. It's on brand for the celebration, and I also think that it was a really smart choice, because this is a way that you can celebrate our beautiful country and show off all of, you know, the different types of geography and, you know, all of our different landmarks, and showcase it in a way that's not political.
Yeah.
So really great way to introduce this idea.
Yes. It was also announced that Epcot International Festival of the Arts is coming back, which is not a surprise. But we have the dates, January 16th through February 23rd. And I am excited to see that they are incorporating Lorcana into the event this year.
Another incredibly smart move. Great cross promotion, because you have this game, and as we have learned, not a lot of the Disney community knows about it. Are you playing Magic the Gathering?
Mm-hmm.
But what they're going to do is have a focus on the artwork of the cards, which is really smart, because it also does play into how you play the game with like letting the ink dry and everything. So again, very smart. I'm loving the cross promotion here, Disney.
Yeah, I'm excited, mostly for the food as well, because for some reason, International Festival of the Arts seems to have the best food of any festival at Epcot. Don't ask me why.
No, and I'm excited. I feel like we never get to sit and watch some of the Broadway performances. That's something I really want to take the time to do this year. I'm also hoping, maybe because Hamilton has become such a thing with Disney, maybe we get a little bit of Ham in there too.
Could be. We're going to have to wait and see. Thank you so much for joining us this and every week on Monoreel Radio. Monoreel Radio will always be free, but there are many ways that you can support the show. Please give us a rating wherever you listen to podcasts. Join the conversation on social media at Monoreel Radio on all major platforms. Share your favorite episodes with family and friends who may enjoy them. And of course, book your next trip with Jackie. Links to everything can be found at monoreelradio.com. We all get one story. Make yours a magical one.
On behalf of Monoreel Radio, we'd like to thank you for joining us. We'll see you at the movies, the stuff dreams are made of.